my name is Ignatieff, and welcome to a Conscious Planet Communication Seminar, Module 1.
Woohoo!
That would be Charles. And what we're going to look at today is we're going to perfect our marketing conversations. Now, I know a lot of people who've done multi-level or different types of business programs. The people that are at the top of the heap, I would imagine, are probably best at their marketing conversations. And part of the conscious communication card set is having specific marketing conversations that you know that you're entering into, and then what you have is a way to take someone through a process, as opposed to just randomly coming up and saying, "Hey, would you like some Conscious Planet materials?" And you know, I just had this. Can you know? A lot of people, they may not have their thing down pat. So what we're doing is we're looking at how you create something that's repeatable, but also custom designable to the person, and also is a way of looking at how to get past our blocks. Because no matter what, if we're trying to do some sort of selling, at some point we come to that, "Oh, I don't want to ask you," or "I can't do the close," or you know, somewhere along the way we stop. And so I think in Conscious Planet, you know, especially when you're doing something like multi-level or network marketing, there's a lot of blocks, there's a lot of things from other people, so you got to get really good at reframing what you're doing. You got to get really good at speaking with people, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're going to go through is a process of understanding what these marketing conversations are, and then we're going to go through a process with cards to see how to custom design them for each of you, so that you can use the experience to fundamentally address whatever communication blocks you have. So part of Conscious Planet, at least from what I can see, is very transformational. There's a lot of focus on self-development, and so I've been brought in here by Charles to give some, I guess, focus on the communication side of things. And I think it's a key priority, and this is something I've been doing for the last 14 years. I've developed a conscious communication system, so hopefully I am able to communicate, but what I haven't done is turn on the audio recorder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the basic model for conscious communication. And it starts with basically three primary circles. We have here. The first is we have a conversational field. Right now in this room, all of us together create this conversational field. All the people that are participating in the conversation are in this field. Now some people may be paying attention and some people may not. If someone is drifting and actually not present, they will actually have a bit of an effect. They'll actually have a huge effect on the field. So when you're speaking to someone, you don't really want to speak into a field that is not open. If you're speaking to someone who immediately is closed, you have to do something either to open them up or don't proceed. Because if you're going to speak into a closed field already, they're not there. So the first part of this is being present to actually understand, is the field open or closed? So what we want to do is we want to bring intention and attention into this field. Now, conscious communication is a lot like conscious breathing. To be fully conscious takes awareness. It takes conscious attention to be aware. So if I'm in a conversation and I'm completely unaware, I'm generally in my pattern. And so what we're looking at is, how do you pre-program yourself? How do you enter into a conversational field with an intention? And the way to do that is with a value. So the idea is that we program fields with our values. So when you set your intention, you're bringing from your heart energy into the field. When you have a conscious group of people all setting that intention, then I think you raise the frequency and create an arena where more synchronicity will come, where the Bible says, where two or more of you are together, I will come. It's like when two people come with conscious intention, Spirit appears. It would be more, well, Spirit doesn't appear, I don't know. Anyway, entering into some areas probably should be left out. Okay, so over here, we have a concept. Now, here, I know, it's pretty amazing art, eh?
Not that evolved.
Reptilian brain.
Okay, so these two people are talking. Now, all of, like they're in a field, and both people can program their intention, but what they see is generally through a language filter. We have a belief system and a value system in our minds, but we immediately see an object. And I may see that building, but if I'm a real estate agent, I'm going to see that object through profit, let's say a lens of profit. And I'm only looking at how am I going to make money with that building. While an artist may look at through a lens of sort of like availability, because I want to paint on the outside of that wall. I'm seeing the building differently because I'm using a different concept, because I have a different reason for looking at that building. That exists with everything. So in a conversation, if you simplify it, you have one value and your intention and one concept. You can focus your attention on the concept. And that's the basic model, is you have a value, a concept, and a conversational field. And the conversational field is made up of conversation types. So if I'm, right now I'm in a presentation, I could move into a storytelling, I might move into an instruction. All of these are different conversation types. So depending upon what conversation you're in, what value you have at intention, and what concept you're holding at attention, that's how much conscious awareness you have as to the type of communication occurring. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'll give you an example, and I think, you know, some people, they know, have you heard of nonviolent communication?
Mm-hmm.
So in the value for nonviolent communication can be compassion. The conversational type within my languaging would be a healing conversation. And then the concept would be need. So, I mean, this is a simplification, but looking at what I know to be nonviolent communication, the intention is to be compassionate within a healing conversation and focus on a person's needs. So if someone's coming at me, they're really angry, I sit there, I realize it's a healing conversation. It's not a storytelling, it's not an instruction, it's not a presentation. I realize this person is going through something. They're coming at me with negative energy, and I focus my attention on their needs. And then they tell me their needs, and I answer their needs. That's one type of pattern within this larger model. And so what we have here is we have a set of cards, which are value cards, which go here. And then we have a set of concept cards, which go here. And then we have a set of conversation cards, which go here. So if you're looking at patterns, you can basically take, let's say, conversation type and go reflection. I'm having a reflection conversation where we're going into deep reflection about something that's occurred. The value is chaos, putting the intention of chaos into it, and focusing on understanding. So that in itself creates a, what is that? It's a new pattern. I never experienced that. I don't know how to intend chaos into reflection and focus on understanding. Now if I'd ask a question or I set an intention beforehand, I would use these to go deeper in with other people and talk about it. So what we're going to do here today is we're looking at a specific aspect of this whole system, because within the conscious communication card deck, the concepts are actually arranged into this whole thinking system. There's not just one level, there's 4 levels. The blue cards are actually the inner you. The yellow cards are the outer you. The red cards are the inner group. And the green cards are the outer group. So you're looking at the outer group, which is the community. You're looking at the inner group, which is the organization or the group as it is right now. You're looking at the outer you, which is my behavior that you can see. And then the inner me is consciousness, what you can't see, which is within me. What we're going to do right now is we're going to look at marketing conversations. So we're looking specifically at a subgroup of conversation types of marketing. Looking at, again, how do we sell basically our products? And how do we take someone through a process which we can refine over and over again and fundamentally look at, use that as the reference point for any blocks that occur. Because as soon as you go forward towards your goal, let's say you want to do 5 meetings per week, you want to do bring in 2 members a week, you're either going to get it or you're not. If you're not going to get it, you got to look at what you did. And I think it's fundamental for anyone in business to look at their marketing conversations, because all businesses are driven by their sales. And if you fundamentally aren't selling anything, you're not going to be in business. There's a lot of people who have a thing about selling, especially within network marketing, and yet when you fully understand what network marketing is, there's no better way to be involved in business. It's just the future. And I think there's been a lot of things from the past about selling to your friends and such things, but I mean, I'd rather give my money to my friends than to some business guy I don't know, fundamentally. Okay, so you just cut that for a sec? So, what's your name again?
Louise.
Louise, okay. So Louise, we have the first contact conversation. Basically what this means is anytime you meet someone for the first time. That's pretty simple.
Right, right.
Then we go into needs analysis or presentation. Now Michael Gerber, in his groundbreaking book, The E-Myth, identified 2 marketing conversations that every small business person has to have. And that's a needs analysis and a presentation. Now what he was saying is you have to do, you would put it into 2 meetings. First you do a needs analysis, and then you do a presentation. But sometimes it depends upon the context, because sometimes you could do a presentation like this, and then later on, if you meet someone, you could do a needs analysis afterwards. So I have, I guess, a different viewpoint on that. Then you have a negotiation where you're moving into the agreement, and you make an agreement. And this isn't a reappraisal. This is after the fact, after you've had an agreement made with someone. Maybe the agreement isn't working out, and so you go back to it. So fundamentally, these are 5 conversation types that once you have them sort of known and memorized, you can start to hear them. You start to know when you're taking someone, or when's the best time to move between them. Because if you go too quick from a needs analysis into negotiation or into a presentation, or you haven't sort of covered all the bases of what you're speaking about, and you go too quick, the other person won't be really involved at all. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a pattern for you that's specific to you, that is going to be linked into whatever you might consider your greatest communication block. So is there anything in your communication that you want to transform?
Sure.
Give an example.
Well, something might be like, you know, I really have a hard time setting up meetings after first contact, or I have a hard time getting somebody's contact info, or I don't really like business, and I'm not that good at selling,
Following up.
Or following up, yeah.
I'm not that
I
good at
think-
following up.
Yeah, following up
Good.
is
It's usually the toughest one.
usually, yeah, is tough.
The follow-up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the intention would be, how do I create a process where follow-up is really easy and fun?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, because it's usually, I would think, kind of dreading, sort of like,
Because fundamentally what you're doing in this whole program is you're changing someone's life in regards to health.
right.
That's the
right,
bottom line,
Right,
right? You are increasing energy to people. You are
Yeah.
making people's lives better.
yes, yes.
And a bit of the problem is, because there's all these other health companies out there and they've got all these different things, you don't want to sound like,
Like you're selling, yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah,
what's the difference between selling and increasing somebody's health?
huge for them.
Right, but what's the difference?
Yeah, I guess that's the difficult part, is trying to,
Like if I think I'm going to sell something to you,
yeah,
it's very different than if I think I'm going to increase your health.
right, oh, definitely, for sure,
So even that's part of the reframing, right?
yeah.
Of how you look at how you frame your
And it's
communication.
so easy to get caught up, I think, into the selling things, like saying to somebody, well, you really need this stuff, and they're looking at you like, oh, wait a minute,
Mm.
yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is, do you want to stop that? Okay, so we set the, so you set the intention,
Mhm.
and what is it again?
The follow-up,
Right.
Yeah.
So say it, the whole intention. How do what?
Can you like to have?
yeah, the intention that I would like to put out is to be able to go through with the follow-up with ease and no blocks, and get good results.
Okay.
How about effortless grace?
Effortless, great, okay, sure, sounds better.
Okay, so basically what you do is for each one of these, you hold that intention and you shuffle the cards.
Okay,
There's two different ways you can do it. You can actually go through the cards and choose the cards and put them out. There's another way of doing it where you randomly choose the cards.
oh, okay,
Most people seem to like that.
yeah,
Takes the mind out of the way. So
okay.
hold the cards, shuffle them,
Shuffle them, right, okay,
and then put one of them on top of each one of these.
okay. So one.
Don't turn them over yet,
Right.
just,
One on top of each of them?
yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, now what we've done is we've already identified the marketing conversations. We've created a pattern of the different types of marketing conversations. We've just chosen randomly a value for each one, because we're going to have one of these for each one of the conversations. Okay? So now do the same thing. Hold the idea in your mind, shuffle the cards,
okay,
and then put again one on top of each one.
okay, all right.
Awesome. Okay, so now we have this. Okay. So, why don't you turn over these two cards?
Okay.
So clarity and center. What does that mean to you in terms of here, you're adding clarity of intention within the first contact, and you're focusing on the center.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you?
In regards to the follow-up,
No, just, this is specific
This
for
is-
first contact. The
well, first
follow-up would
contact,
be-
so when you
would be
first
here.
meet somebody,
Right,
right, okay, so when you first meet somebody, obviously, yeah, you need to be clear on what you're talking about
mm-hmm,
and to be centered.
centered. Would you say you normally do that?
Like I said, I'm not really into a.
No, I just mean in a sense of, let's say, would you normally, let's say, if you just met someone
when
for
I
the
just meet
first
somebody.
time,
Oh, okay.
would you inside go, okay, center, ground myself, whatever way you center, would you is that a normal pattern?
No, not to say to myself, okay, now I'm with somebody, I'm gonna, no.
Okay. So what we're looking for is we're looking at what do we do normally in our unconscious patterns, and then what are going to be the new patterns that we're going to focus attention upon so we can go through the learning process. So learning process is step one, unconscious incompetence. We don't know what we don't know. Then we go into conscious incompetence where, you know, I couldn't remember I was centered, I'm not that clear, but you realize you're not the same as you were, but you're not where you want to go. Then you go into conscious competence, where you're doing it easily, but you still have to think about it. And then you go to unconscious competence, where it's just like you don't even think about it, it's a new pattern. So the fundamental thing about this is you're reprogramming your mind by creating a map that you use as an ideal reference point to compare against your normal behavior. Right? So now every experience you have in first contact is practice for you to get centered and to be clear.
And to be clear on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Does that make sense?
That's good, yeah.
How does that feel as a
Yeah,
starting point?
that
Did you agree with that?
Yeah, that feels good.
Okay. Okay, now which one of these two would you want to go to? Imagine yourself in front of someone you just met. You just had a first contact with them. You got their contact information, and now you're setting up another meeting.
I would think you need analysis.
Needs analysis first, okay. Okay, so turn over those two cards. Inspiration. Position. Interesting. Okay, so what we have is we have inspiration to value a divine influence directly and immediately exerted upon the mind or soul. And position, the manner of being placed, disposed, or arranged for a needs analysis conversation. So what does that say to you?
Well, obviously they have to be inspired. Position.
Okay, what would be a needs analysis to you? If you're having a conversation with someone, what would it look like to you?
I guess needing information from the other person as to finding out what it is that their situation or their issue is. So, yeah, so I guess once you sort of establish that, and then I guess there's a common link there, so and that gets the conversation going, hopefully.
What inspires you?
Well, right now, I guess this whole health scene is what inspires me.
Why does it inspire you?
For myself, and then of course for everybody else, for other people that I know that could benefit.
But why you right now? Why is health inspiring?
Well, because I'm in my own health phase thing, sort of trying to get myself back into good health.
So you're suffering from some health issues? And so you're experiencing some changes because of the Conscious Planet supplements?
Yeah.
And so as you see the changes, you become more and more inspired to
Oh, yeah.
have more?
Oh, for sure. sure, for sure.
Have you spoken to anyone about that?
No, not really. No, no. I mean, I've just mentioned, of course, you know, what I'm taking, but,
Anybody who has, anybody who has a position on health, or their perception of it,
um,
you've spoken about it.
yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, I guess just yesterday I was talking to somebody about it. And she was having difficulty with bowel issues, but she seems to have conquered that. But she said that she had tried everything.
Right, so she's got a position.
Yeah.
Which is good, this is good. So in your conversation, in your needs analysis, she's already explaining to you that she's got a position and she's got,
Yeah, yeah. So she's,
there is a need, but she's obviously tried a lot of things to fix it.
yeah, that's right. Now she has found a solution that seems to be working for her, you know, and I told her what was working for me. And, so, I guess that's.
Do you mind if I take you through a bit of a needs analysis?
Oh, sure, okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because what I'm seeing is to identify someone's position, right? You have somewhere where you are, and there's somewhere where you want to go. So if I know where you are, and I know where you want to go, I can hopefully facilitate perhaps you to get there if I have some methodology to bring you there, right?
Right, okay.
So in terms of needs, how much time a week do you focus on your health?
Daily?
Daily, like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or
Oh,
all day?
probably all day.
You have an exercise routine you're doing?
Yeah.
You change your food habits, you're changing your food
Oh,
habits?
totally, yeah, but I mean, I've always sort of been eating fairly healthy, but then really changed,
So-
of course, too.
When you really changed, what was the movement you did? Like how did your position change when you made the big choice?
Well, kind of like, you have to. You have to make that change.
Why?
So with the vegetarian eating and the alkaline water and, you know, all the various other things that I do. So, it's, well, for me, I know that this is what I have to do.
Right. So you came to that conclusion.
Well, because of all the research I've been doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the research pointed you to what?
Well, pointed me to all these various different things, and then it was through a contact that I had that said, come and see Charles Wayne at Conscious Planet.
And then what happened?
So then I made the contact and then came in here to see them.
Did you have a assessment done by Dorothy?
Yes, I did, yeah.
And did she assess your position? And what did that do?
Well, that really opened up a lot more, I mean, because that was sort of like, whoa. You know, with Dorothy does her, she's excellent.
Bigger picture of what's going on.
Yeah, it really does give you a huge picture that,
Broad spectrum.
yeah.
So maybe here we're going a needs analysis, so probably one of the best needs analysis is Dorothy's assessment.
Right, yeah.
So part of the follow-up could be after you made the first contact, you could talk about how inspired you were about seeing Dorothy,
Right.
how that changed specifically by giving you data that you could use as a reference point to go from A to B. And then you started using the supplements, which were being also diagnosed by Dorothy for you, right?
Right.
So the combination of being inspired by that, understanding your position, and the needs analysis, sounds like that's the follow-up to the first contact, right? And would you be inspired enough to say to people, just go get the assessment? You don't have to try anything else, but just have the assessment so at least you can understand
I think
where
the
you start.
assessment, yeah, the assessment was incredible. I guess it just depends on who's gonna actually sort of go for that kind of assessment.
Right.
I think that's probably the thing that's a little
So then if you backtracked and you looked at their position and went, okay, fundamentally you got to ask them questions like, are you, do you want to change your health? Do you want to improve your health? If someone says no,
Yeah, forget it.
that they're out.
Yeah, they're out.
If they
yeah.
do,
If they
then
do.
you can say, well, what are you currently doing right now?
Mhm, mhm,
Well, I'm taking this, or I'm doing this, or I'm not doing this.
mhm,
Again, you're getting more of an understanding as to where they're at.
mhm,
So if
mhm.
someone's like, want to improve their health, and that whatever's working out right now maybe isn't working out, they may go to the assessment.
Mhm,
If they're already using current supplements from another company,
mhm,
that may need a longer term strategy to
mhm,
see, like, as you sort of maybe improve and they sort of stay the same and you're still in contact,
mhm.
you may have some sort of communication process every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks where you just sort of follow how they do it or
Mhm,
something, depending, because there are certain people in your life that you want their health to improve, right?
Sure.
It's not like
sure.
some random thing, there's specific, your uncle or your brother
Mhm.
or someone
Mhm.
very close to you that may be closed to whatever path you're taking,
Mhm.
but at some point they may see the changes
Oh,
in you that are so
definitely, yeah.
strong.
Oh, I know a lot of people that need it, but it's just that, like you say, some of them are very closed.
And I'll bet you when you come across them, because there's probably a pattern, as soon as you're closed, you go, okay, I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
That's okay, I'm not going to do anything. So then when you switch to presentation,
Mhm.
it's again shifting that pattern, because that leaving a person alone in their disease is the norm,
When
right?
you know better, yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
You know way out.
mhm.
So let's switch these and does this feel right for you now?
Yeah. Mhm,
Could you
that's
see
good.
yourself doing that?
Yeah, that's good, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, now turn those two on.
Repetition.
It seems to be kind of close. So what does that say to you? The intention of habit, the value of habits,
Mhm,
and focusing on repetition
mhm.
within a presentation conversation. So imagine yourself, let's say, in front of, is there someone out there, like a brother or someone you want to?
Well, I guess a girlfriend of mine,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's say you're giving a presentation to her,
Mhm,
and you're focusing on habits.
mhm.
What would you say?
On her habits, you mean?
Where are you
Yeah,
going?
or mine, yeah, yeah. Well, but she would need to change them because she's gone back to her old habits, you see. So she can't stay in her old habits, although she thinks there's nothing wrong. So she thinks that she's fine, and I'm the one that's woo-woo.
Right.
Yeah.
You're in
see.
good company.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
club, yeah.
Yeah, because you see, she did. Oh yeah, she's got to the point now where she just says, okay. She said, I'll just leave you alone to do what your thing. And but she's back into her old eating habits and having her coffee and sometimes her alcohol. And she knows that I don't do any of that. And of course, she went through the regular medical orthodox procedure with her breast cancer. So she did the lumpectomy, and then she had her breast removed, and then she did chemo, and she's cancer-free, so she thinks she's done the right thing.
Right.
So and which is fine, and I'm saying, okay, that's great, for you it's working. But now I'm seeing that she is back into her old habits. So she's back into her old food habits and her old, and she really shouldn't be in those.
Right. Do you, like, one thing I found with Charles is I constantly saw Charles doing the same thing. His habits are big. Come over to his house, he makes a shake. We go somewhere, we eat a certain type of food. It's always being repeated. I mean, Charles is he's been living it for 7 years. As long as I've known him, he's been living it.
Yeah.
So I can watch watch his habits. He's a living model for what he's preaching in a sense,
Which
right?
is good.
And I know for myself that the hardest thing that I have had to deal with is changing my habits and changing my food habits and changing that coffee in the morning to a shake.
Yeah.
So in terms of repetition and presentation, it may be that you may have to present the idea more than once,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
not just, okay, I'm going to present to you, and now you're going to come in or not. It's more, oh, this week like it could be a little 5-minute thing. Oh, look, I use this catalyze because of this, and I use this colonize because of this. Oh, I got this like spray thing. Like there's a constant presentation of the product.
And the consistency
And
makes
the
such a difference
consistency,
for other
yeah.
people to see.
Right, yeah.
And the thing is, as you know, life is a presentation in a sense, and as you get more strong in your habits and you're repeating things over and over again and watching what she's repeating, at some point, people, you know, they trust
I
someone
know
else's.
what you mean, yeah, that they start to sort of lean forward a little bit more. And sometimes, and then this has been a long thing going on for a number of years now between her and I. So every so often I can see her sort of, and I'm sure she's probably thinking, gee, what if she's right? Okay, because I get that feeling from her every so often, that she's kind of, you know, sort of going,
Well, one thing you can also do is you may do 2 or 3 presentations with her
right,
in a small way, and all you're doing is you're aiming to get her to take the assessment.
right.
You don't have to aim to change someone's life. All you're aiming at is the next step for someone. Small steps in the right direction.
Right, yeah.
And what we do is, I've got to do all these different things. And at the end of the day, once the person is educated enough, they will get it. They have to, at some point. And so, I think part of the whole, let's say, block that a lot of people feel about network marketing is this, again, this concept of selling, rather than presenting information in such a way so they make a choice. Right?
Right, yeah.
So why don't you turn, does that feel okay? Or?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it also may be, okay, habit presentation, okay, it showed us something, but it really isn't maybe something that turns you on as much. And you can maybe go through these, and maybe something like flexibility, maybe something like trust, maybe love, or any of those kind of coming out, commitment. Do any of those sort of feel okay? Braveness? Some braveness?
Yeah, that's what I love about this, is as you have the pattern, the steps you need to take, you can start looking at different ways you can mold your conversation
Right.
to suit the needs.
So which
Or
one of
what
these
is
would you...
something you seem more comfortable working on?
Well, especially with my girlfriend, trust. I mean, I know we've got trust, and we've got, you know, our type of love in that sense.
So would you prefer trust, or you want to keep habit? Like, which one of these would you prefer?
No, I guess we can do trust. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now turn these two over.
Okay.
Switch.
Turn, shift, and down here.
Interesting. So what does that say to you?
So bringing awareness to her.
Do you know when you're in a negotiation? Do you know when you switch into negotiation?
When you switch?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
How good are you, let's say, at negotiating? Is it a conversation type you've mastered? Is it a conversation type that has always been you don't like? Have you ever studied it?
To negotiate? No.
Negotiating a price on a car or something. You good haggler?
Are you
No.
conscious about your agreements with people?
good haggler.
You get eaten alive in the market in Cairo.
Yeah. Or in the Orient or wherever, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm usually with enough other people that they do the negotiating. I mean, I'm always told that you always go half, right? And then you sort of work in that frame.
Maybe you yourself to be a great negotiator. Start at half, I usually start at 90%.
But it's not a favorite thing to do, yeah. Don't like
Okay,
negotiate.
okay, we're there.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
Look on the face, a lot of people, they don't like negotiating, some people love negotiating.
Oh, yeah, some people just, yeah,
It's more of a cultural thing, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Canadians are a little bit,
Yeah, we're not, that's not our bag, is it?
No conflict.
Yeah, yeah,
Is everything
exactly.
okay? Okay. What did I upset? Okay.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, and switch, what does that mean? What would be a switch in a negotiation conversation?
Well, I guess from what you're presently doing to switching to something else,
Hmm.
or whatever
Hmm.
that may be.
So let's say you're you want your friend, and you're talking with her, and you want to create an agreement with her around your health, and you go, you know what, this is what I'm doing. Why don't we just have an agreement for 2 weeks, no coffee? Would you be able to make that agreement with her? Have you ever negotiated something like that?
No.
Because a switch, right? It's almost like switches over here.
Yeah, right, the
Hey,
switch.
guys, would you guys like the lights on? Does everyone
No.
agree?
No.
Why don't you want the lights
No,
on?
we don't.
I like
do
it
lights.
dark.
You like it dark? If I gave you $10, would you let me turn the lights on?
20.
20?
100.
100? Okay, I'm gonna give you $20.
All right.
Can I turn the light on?
Do whatever you want with the light.
Okay, so we just negotiated, switch happens. Okay, the switch. I mean, that's metaphorical,
That was a
but
piece of cake.
give me that money back.
I trade you back.
Food money for the next year. I'm a conscious breatharian. Got a good deal. Okay, does this work for you? Like, it's almost like you're looking within the negotiation for them to switch their lifestyle, for them to switch their food
It does work,
habits.
yeah. So once you get to a certain level of awareness for them,
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to, well, this makes sense, doesn't it? It looks like you're aware of this. Well, let's switch it. Let's get into something
Yeah.
else other than coffee. You know coffee's not
Yeah.
working for you.
Yeah.
You already
right,
said it
right,
doesn't.
right.
You're just doing it because you're set up a habit.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's move on here.
Yeah.
Let's put herbal tea in your hand, or let's
Yeah.
put a hemp shake in your hand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah, that's, yeah.
okay, so that works?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That works.
So now, we go into reappraisal, which is more looking, maybe you might come back a week later and go, so how's it going?
So how's it going?
Did it work? And maybe it didn't work, well, maybe it's just, we'll just do it for 3 days.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, we don't go for the 2 weeks, we'll just do it in 3 days, or maybe even a day at a time, or something like that. So, if you turn on those two. Illusion. Just read that out. To value the quality of being calm and even tempered. Composure. Illusion. Something that deceives by producing a false or a misleading impression of reality.
Okay, so I guess if there have to be changes, to keep, obviously, everything even keeled, calm.
let's say you made an agreement with someone and she goes back and goes, yeah, I'm thinking about it, but I really think that coffee is really good for me.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
I
'cause she
want to
says,
change the agreement.
I like my
because
coffee in the morning.
I like my coffee.
That's what she says.
And it's not going to affect me. It's not going to really change anything.
Yeah.
And so then you might look at the illusion of that, and maybe depending on how educated you are, you may go, okay, well, let's look what really coffee is doing to my body. Let's
Right,
look what
yeah.
coffee is doing to people. Let's look at
Right.
the relationship. And a big part of this that I've seen is constant education.
Oh, it is,
For
yeah, it is.
yourself and for other people.
Yeah, because I've made comments and I've said to her, well, I said, with every cup of coffee, you need to at least down 4 or 5 glasses of water to balance the acid.
20.
20?
20.
20?
Depending on the pH of the water.
Yeah.
Oh, depending on the,
The pH of the water.
right,
Yeah.
but it depends on the coffee though, right? Is that
It's about 4.5, 5 pH if you're at best. So that's a lot of acid in your system.
yeah, yikes.
So 4 or 5 glasses might get you to maybe 6, 5.5, 6.
Okay, so
Yeah. Again, well, if you drink water, it's 9 or 10 pH, that would offset.
that's right, yeah. But then I know she's gonna look at me like I'm just like,
Well, the thing is, just look at the intention card.
yeah,
So how, does that make sense for you to come into that meeting with wanting to feel equanimous? Whether she gets on the program or not, doesn't matter.
yeah,
Her
right.
position, it matters about how you're gonna enter that space when you're going in there to talk to her. You wanna feel totally calm and relaxed, doesn't matter
Right,
what she
right,
does. You
yeah.
just wanna love her as she is.
Oh, yeah, well, that's basically what I do because,
Yeah.
she's,
However,
it's, yeah.
the attention is, she thinks coffee is okay.
She thinks it's okay, and she thinks her water is okay. Cause I was explaining to her about my alkaline water, and she just looks at me and she's going, I was trying to explain that, the Brita water isn't very good. And, yeah, so you almost,
If you had clarity, and were very inspiring, and built trust, and increased someone's awareness, and treated people with equanimity, how do you think your ability to communicate would be in
Well,
regards to this?
well, it would definitely be better. But I think it's a slow process. Because see, every time I see her, and then I say a little bit more here and there, so it's a slow process.
Right. How interested are you in the consciousness part of the program? Like, do you find there's a link between health and consciousness? Like, do you want to increase your level of consciousness?
Yeah, for sure.
Because what this is doing is it's looking at the relationship to the physical and the mental. Your communication is a direct reflection of your thoughts. Your thinking is your inner, your communication is your outer. As you are more aware of how you communicate, you're more conscious.
Right, okay.
So by combining the two, you're bringing together the physical and the mental, and essentially the connection points emotional. Are you sort of having a feeling connection with the person? But it's sort of part of what I understand about the Conscious Planet is all of the tools, all of the products are around being able to raise your level of consciousness, fundamentally.
Right.
So I think
Yeah, so
that's,
what you're doing with this process is you're integrating the consciousness. And once you get to here,
Yeah,
your level of consciousness can't be the same if you're trying to shatter someone else's illusion.
Right.
You've changed.
yeah,
You're
that's
not
right.
joining her in a cup of
Oh,
coffee.
I know, that's
You
right.
realize that coffee is not a healthy thing for you.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So now, you've created a bit of a jump for yourself in consciousness, and you're helping her.
Trying to pump her up, yeah.
Get her out of that illusion of what she's living in. It's just a belief structure, right?
Right, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's true.
and so what I'll do is I'll make a map for you.
Okay.
And then you use that as a reference point, and maybe you come to, okay, next time I get together, this isn't working,
Right.
whatever. And so in find another thing and really go through it and go, okay, I'm gonna try this angle. And so at some point, you come at it with 3, 4 angles and all such is great, you know, oh, okay. I actually understand now, because I think fundamentally you're looking to get that awareness. I'm actually aware enough to know why I'm gonna make that switch.
Yeah,
Okay, so how did this journey support you and help you, if you know where you were and how you could help other people about conscious planet, market product? Out of 10.
well, definitely, between 0 and 10, if I was 0 before, I'm definitely at a 5 now.
You know, the value it added to your conversation, you're going to help with people, because it's communication tool, right?
Oh, yeah,
It's
for
helping
sure.
us find words and structure to our
Right, yeah.
conversations.
Oh, yeah, well, it's definitely bumped it up too.
Yeah, it's totally changed.
Yeah, yeah, it has,
And this is just one context.
that's right, yeah.
You can look at any of your communication patterns, you can look at any of your business contexts, you can look at any of your things that you want to do, and built in within this, there's a whole bunch of other different processes and things that you can do. There's a game board. You can actually sit
Whoa,
9 people around
oh my goodness.
and turn cards over like you did an issue reading. You can, this is a 2-person board.
Oops, sorry. Wow.
This is another game that has a spiral in the middle, that has different perspectives and links in sacred geometry. And then where's that 4-person?
Harmony.
The bridge builder.
Oh, right there.
And there's a 4-person thing. And so what we're looking at doing is custom designing some card sets for Conscious Planet. Here you could invite 2 couples over and have a, let's say, discussion about health. And say, okay, how can we improve our health? And again, you can add a randomness to the game. And so the card sets with the game boards.
Yeah, and just open up conversations.
Yeah.
And see how they flow and how we can help them flow better. Come to conclusions.
Wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Did you develop that?
So
Yeah.
those are all
Nice.
yours? Oh,
You spent, you said before 15 years?
13 years.
Oh, 13 years.
Yeah. And this is just coming to the market now. I just feel it's getting close ready because Charles is, told me I've got to stop researching, bring it into the world. I want to thank you, Louise, incredible much
Thank you.
for
Thank
being
you.
present and being open to this. This is not easy to do on film. And this is your first month in Conscious Planet. It may be a little overwhelming, but I think that this was a wonderful read. And again, like for anyone,
Yeah,
different cards will appear, and
right.
it's custom designable for each person, and then you can just change it and shift it the way. The whole idea is being able to consciously move these lenses and intentions in our mind and heart, and being able to consciously program the field that we're in.
It's easy for him because he doesn't even need the cards anymore.
Oh,
He just
yeah.
doesn't need his head.
Yeah.
Good to
Thank
know
you.
it.